Warning, this podcast may change the way you think about business, entrepreneurship, and money forever. The Conquistador Podcast was created for dreamers, entrepreneurs, and leaders who want to conquer their future. To be an epic entrepreneur, you must adopt the right mental paradigms as well as master the art of selling, marketing, and finance. Now, it's time to welcome two serial entrepreneurs, leaders, husbands, and fathers who are passionate about sharing the strategies that are helping them excel in life and in business. Here are Mauricio Garcia and Hubert Humphrey.
Well, welcome once again to the Conquistador Podcast. I am super excited because I am joined by my partner, Hubert Humphrey. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, Mauricio. Good to be with everybody today, especially you, and I look forward to another great podcast.
Absolutely. Well, it's difficult times right now. Still, we are being affected by this worldwide pandemic, and I guess some people have found a way to overcome, to evolve. People are still in transition, and some people are really having a very difficult time. I have heard before and seen how millionaires are made in times of crisis. I've heard it so many different times in movies and shows, in posts. So what do you say to that? The millionaires are really made in times of crisis?
Well, I think they can be made at any given time, but crisis seems to magnify it and increase the chances of a person succeeding in a big way, especially if they've got the right vehicle, they've got the right opportunity that fits that moment. And one of the things that I've learned long ago, and I try to teach people, and this is a great quote for them to learn. If the problem, or I might even say, if the problem / crisis is big enough, and the solution is big enough, at the same time, you have a chance to have one of the great success stories of all time. And that's where millionaires come from, is in those moments of big problems and big solutions. One of the books I read many years ago is called The True Believer. It's about the making of mass movements and successful people. And it talked about that the great movements like Gandhi in India or Churchill in England, saving England during World War II, or negative like Hitler over creating a movement from scratch, the Nazi party that was a negative thing, but it became a big deal. Whatever it was, it says when there's tremendous dissatisfaction, there's tremendous crisis, tremendous difficult times, that if there's some leaders or somebody that's prepared to step into that breach, into that void with a solution, at that exact moment, great things happen. And so, guys, we've got that going on in spades now in the world, and then all across the world, not just in the U.S., and it's across the board out there. And so you're right. This is the time. If you can come up or be a part of something that can help bring the right solutions to these great challenges out there, that's when. So
I'm not saying necessarily to get excited just because there's a crisis, but definitely recognize because there are more problems, there are also more opportunities to fill that void, right. And that's when the opportunity for you to become a millionaire, which is a result of solving a problem, really becomes. But you mentioned a very important thing, which is, as long as you are aligned or you are in the correct vehicle, what makes it a great vehicle? I mean, how would you identify a great vehicle nowadays? Because many people may be asking,
Well, two or three things about that. One is you need to find something that's recession-proof, inflation-proof, Washington politics-proof, pandemic-proof.
That's a tall order.
Any kind of negative proof it needs to be. And if you can find one that's viral, that has a lot of veracity to it, and it's very viral in its nature. In other words, one of my mottos with our people is that I want to out-pandemic the pandemic. I want us to be more viral than the virus that's attacking people out there.
Yeah.
And in our opposition to it, and in our building of our business. And one little thing that I'll mention here, just going back in my business life, the first great company that we really put together back in the day was started way back in the Jimmy Carter era, the misery index era, where it was terrible conditions out there. You know, hostage crises in Iran. There was long gasoline lines, high interest rates, high mortgage rates, high unemployment. It was just woe is me every day on television. And in the middle of all that, we start up a company and recruit 1.5 million people and have 10 million sales and revolutionize the largest industry in the world right in the middle of that pandemic, if you will. And we built the second company in the same situation. And today, here back, for example, last February and March, when we saw this pandemic hitting, I just pulled from my experience, went to all of our leaders in our business out there and said, look, guys, opportunity is knocking. While the rest of the people are in disarray, people are losing their jobs. They're fearful of losing their jobs. Businesses are shutting down. Companies are closing business doors, and it's waiting on government handouts, and everything's kind of panicky, and it's just a bad thing. But besides the health issues, the fearful health issues that were going on, it was a lot of collateral damage to this with this pandemic. I said, and it's forced all these people to go to work from their home. And so now you don't have to wonder where your prospects are. They're at home. You don't have to wonder how to contact them. They're sitting right by their computer. And all you got to do now is just do the virtual dream drop, or virtual message drop. Just hit them. Just hit them a little message. Give them a call and say, listen, I'm just texting you something right now. I'm just emailing you something. Hit that button right quick and start talking to them. I mean, it's collapsed all these time frames and compressed all this activity down now to where, and guess what? Just in our company alone, from March on, we literally tripled the size of our business in 2020 over 2019 in recruits, production, and successful cash flow to people. I mean, it was a tremendous thing. It just proved once again what you just said. Great success comes from those times.
Yeah, from those problems.
Turmoil. It's the crucible. It's a crucible of fire is where you temper the steel and make the people the strongest.
Yeah, obviously you've been building huge companies for the past 4 decades. I've been in the financial services industry for the last 2 decades. And being a very young, I still remember, 1999 when I first got my license to be able to commercialize financial products, insurance products. I saw in 2000, 2001, 2002, right off the terrorist attack and the dot-com bubble, how people were fearful and they were trying to find ways to protect their money. So I did really well. Well, the world was falling apart. I did really well. I would say that those years were really good because we talk about protection of assets and stuff like that. Then again in 2008, we did really, really well after the mortgage crisis and the real estate crisis, and again here in the pandemic. So, would you say financial services? Because I've seen how I would say that a financial services is probably one of those recession-proof businesses that are out there because of living proof, basically.
I would think if you're looking at just an industry as a whole, financial services, first of all, it's the largest industry in the world, bigger than technology and all this other stuff. The financial services is the biggest, and it's the most stable, and it's the most recession-proof, inflation-proof, pandemic-proof business there is out there, and it's also the chance when you're marketing money products, that alone sounds like you ought to be making some more money because you're marketing money products. And there's this monstrous. It's been going on a long time and will continue for a long time. This tremendous intergenerational wealth transfers of about 70 to 80 trillion dollars or more that's moving. And all you got to do in life, it sounds simple, is to find out when money's moving and then where it's moving from and where it's moving to, and try to go and get in the middle of it, get as much as you can of the money as it's moving. And it's a simple process. In our business, we go out there and try to offer people a chance to go out and build organizations, and most of them have never recruited anybody. They've never built teams. Mm-hmm. The next thing you know, they're able to make something called overrides. If I was giving somebody right now the fastest way the average and every ordinary person across the board could have to make some money is to be in a financial services business, be in something like what we're talking about here at HDI, and be able to recruit people, be able to override people, and have a system to where it can continually grow. And you're out there, a bunch of hunter-gatherers, just bringing solutions and gathering assets and getting your overrides off of it.
I'm only mentioning and said what I said to give people a hint. And obviously, the least I could do is share my personal experience. I was a cell phone battery welder at a mobile company before making the transition into financial services. Little did I know the big world that financial services really is. And now that you say you've got to be aligned, you've got to be in the right vehicle, I've seen it. I've seen how even in times of crisis, people listening sharpens and they're looking for safety. And it's okay. I guess at times of expansion, people are looking for opportunity. So this financial services I've seen, you're able to service on both sides. It allow people to take advantage of opportunity and also protect them. I mean, you've got those two things, and so I just want people to know that. But
I'll give you talking about examples. I mean, because
I've been doing it more on a personal little producer. It's different.
No. You're not any little at all. Everybody's little. I was a prospect on somebody's list. Everybody starts as a prospect. Everybody starts with their own story. And I'd never been in this business. You've never been in this business. Almost all the super successful people that I've seen and we've developed over the years, and we're talking about out of almost 3 million people recruited in these 3 companies we've built, and literally hundreds of thousands of people making 6-figure incomes, and hundreds of them making 7-figure income. Those people, all of them fit the profile of Mauricio Garcia and Hubert Humphrey. They'd never done anything like this before. They were scared of it. They were fearful of it. But all of a sudden, we hit that curiosity button and that dream button, and they gave it a try. And our system is a simplify and grow your business. That's what it's all about. But the key to this thing is I'll give you an example, a recent example. Here we've got a guy named Aki Rupani, who's an Indian guy, came over from India here 10 or 12 years ago. It didn't come to be one of the IT workers, but he was going to come over and try to be an entrepreneur. Involved in some little investing here, got some gas stations here, just struggling. Him and his family running these things, not making a lot of money, but doing a lot of work. Then all of a sudden he hears about financial services in one of our previous companies, and he gets in and he starts to educate himself on it, and he gets trained by these people. He starts to learn he can recruit a few people. He recruits some of his friends, and he meets some new friends, and he gets them in, and he starts to make a few overrides. He makes himself $300,000 or $500,000 after 3 or 4 years, and he builds it up to that, and that's good. But he knew he wanted to get bigger, so he contacted me because we had founded the previous company, and he knew I was doing something new, so he came and contacted me. We got involved. He got his first commissions with us January of 2018, and here we are now 3 years later. Okay, three years later. He's been paid over $6 million. In fact, he made $4 million in 2020. His team made over $60 million of commissions. Just a little team he's got. His team went from about 100 people to now he's sitting out there with about 15,000 people. All this happened recently, and the bulk and half of that has happened in the middle of the pandemic the last year.
Yeah,
and he didn't know anything about insurance. He wasn't his native language. He's fearful of it. And I go back into the past and I look at Swan Nguyen, a refugee from Vietnam, one of our first great superstars. and all these kind of people. I've seen the guys, the Filipinos, the Hispanics, the African Americans, and then up in Canada we built Empire in Canada. So wherever you're at, guys, this is an industry you want to look at. Now there's a lot of industries out there. But if you're looking where the most people have the most chance, it's in a business like this, and you need to have a model to where you can have a system help you build it. And the great thing about our business is that we create this just giant support world for you, where all you got to do is just do the main things of the fun things of recruiting and building and let this co-op take care of the background.
I think it's a good idea that we take the opportunity to let people know, because in the end, like you said, they're looking for ways, and in times of crisis, they're gonna have to choose a vehicle. And for the most part, there are these good vehicles and the not so good vehicles. And the story that you're sharing about Aki, obviously, it's a very it's a story that can inspire anybody. Because where could you go in business and 3 years later produce $60 million for your team, make $4 million in a year? That sounds almost like too good to be true. But I know it to be true because I'm involved. And the topic today is how to thrive in difficult times. And I couldn't help but to recognize that when I was being that cell phone battery welder at this cell phone company, that was my moment of crisis. My moment of crisis is I was really sick and tired of getting the same check that was not going to change no matter what happened. It was going to be the same thing over and over. So it was obviously the wrong vehicle, and I have to make that switch. And that's where a lot of people may find themselves right now. And we have to recognize that maybe right now, if we haven't, let's say, gone to work, like I have brothers, right, and family members who work in the restaurant business, and so they were laid off. Probably one of the hardest hit industries out there is coming back very slowly, but they have a lot of time in their hands, and I know that there's a lot of people right now that have a lot of time in their hands. And I heard you say one time, correct me if I say it wrong, but you said it's not what you do with with your full time, but it's what you do with your free time. So it's what you do with your spare time. I call it free time, spare time, whatever it is. So I want us to elaborate on that, because I think there's a lot of time being wasted. I think we all waste a lot of time, but not using that free time. And I think we all need to have a little bit of leisure, a little escape, right? But how much can you do when you just take a little bit of that spare time and you do the greatest things in times of crisis?
Mauricio, I think you're hitting on the real essence of what we can leave them with on this show here today. That we're not. It's a big worldwide crisis when you talk about a pandemic. But every one of us, I had that little crisis in my life. I was so tired of working on the railroad, being in derailments. A best friend had gotten killed out there. I got my knee tore up. I mean, it was just. I couldn't stand being an employee. So that was my little crisis. You had your crisis, and there are millions and millions and millions of people in America that they're in a crisis. One, that some of them don't even have a job, and then a lot of them have a job that it doesn't do them. They have no chance of upward movement to make the dreams come true, and they live these lives of misery in a box. And so what we need to let people know is that they have within at their fingertips, at their disposal, they have everything that it takes to save themselves. It's like if they were drowning in the ocean, there is a life preserver that they could reach out to. There's this person that can help them over here. There's this floating piece of wood that they can grab a hold to. There are things close by that if you'll put out the effort, you can do it. And the only currency that it takes to do this is your time, what you do with your time. And it's amazing. I remember when I first started, I was working 60 hours a week on the railroad. My church calling was another 20, 30 hours a week. My 4 kids and all I was doing was another 10, 15, and I was trying to do Amway on the side. So I'm a 100-hour a week guy. I had no time, but I squeezed a little air out of it, and I started with this little thing that Art Williams had just started. In that little bit of time, put in the right vehicle, boom, it took me off. And I just started pushing all those other things, unimportant things aside, and streamline myself. There's a life preserver out there for you. You just need to reach out to it, and it's not who you know, it's who do they know. It's not what you know. The system can save you from all that. And the other thing is that it doesn't take a lot of time. I call it sort of the magic of compound time leveraging, if you will, time borrowing. If I've got 5 hours I can do something this week, and I go out and recruit Mauricio and 2 other people who have 5 hours a week, I just borrow their time because I'm overriding it. And all of a sudden now I've got 20 hours, my 5 and their 15. And then let's say in a week or 2 or 3, they go out and get 3 each. That's another 45 and 15. I got 60 hours a week. And you start compounding the time.
I wanted to get to that because I believe that most of us, I understand compounding now, but for many years I had no clue about the true power of compounding. And I know that a lot of people that are listening to the podcast have probably heard the concept of compounding interest, which it goes with what we're talking. But compounding in those efforts and maybe choosing those 3 hours, as you're saying, every week to polish and learning a new skill. Just compounding over time, just how that really works. So, because a lot of people give up right away because they don't see results from efforts that are done initially, because most of us, I think, are always thinking linear and don't really understand the true power behind compounding and how powerful that really is.
The compounding can be, like you said, as you learn more and as you progress more and do more, you're compounding your own effort. You're just getting better and better and better at what you're doing. But when you start leveraging, borrowing the dreams and time of other people, and then they do likewise, and and you have a system of where you can monetize that, and it's amazing. And it's amazing in our business. You talk to somebody and they say, well, but Hubert, I can't do that. I don't know anybody. Mm-hmm. Now I've never met a human being that didn't know anybody. When you were born, somebody was there to pull you out. you met that person. I mean, you've been meeting people from the time you were born.
Right.
The older you are, the more people you've had time to meet. And you're nothing but a walking, talking prospect list. And everybody you see is a walking, talking prospect. Most of them have no idea that they can monetize their lives. And so it's just it's a whole different paradigm that they've got to get into. And you and I both know that the reason why we're sitting here today is we've changed our paradigm. Mm-hmm. We've changed the way we used to think, and we think different. And that's an ability that's learned. This is not a talent. There's nothing about our business that requires you to be born with a talent. I don't have any talents. I have some abilities that I have learned and developed, and some skills that I worked hard to learn, and I'm going to keep working hard. It's all transferable. It's teachable. So just know that, guys, whoever you are out there, whatever you're trying to do, just know that there are some solutions. There's some opportunities that are much more have much more potential than others. But somewhere, somehow, you need to do something. I think you just got to go. Yeah. You got to be willing to take a step. This may not be for you, but do something. Reach out and try. Keep your trying motor going. It comes down to try or cry. You know, if you don't keep trying, you quit crying about it, because you keep your trying motor going. But there's opportunity. We live in an era today where, especially with social media and the internet like it is, there's so much out there. In fact, there's almost too much out there. You can mess around and look at too many glittery things and not get anything done. You know, but you need to lock in and do something. The big thing is, don't sit back and suck your thumb and say, "Oh, woe is me." Just do something about it. Yeah. If you can't think of anything else to do, give Mauricio and I a call. We'll put you in the right place.
Absolutely, and I like what you said. It's really not about talents. It's about abilities that can be learned. So we have everything. If we have a healthy mind, we're pretty much able to go out there and learn just about any ability that's going to take us to where we want to be. So I think that's it for today, Hubert. I really love this topic. We talked about people, again, are going through difficult times, but it is the best time to open up, to maybe change the paradigm, which, by the way, maybe to close out, because I've heard you say, hey, listen, if you want to have some good, some changes in your life, change your attitude. You can change your attitude in the face of adversity. You can change your attitude, get better result. But how about changing the paradigm, which is a whole different ball game? And
well, that's the key.
I want you to speak to that.
Well, I'd heard the word paradigm over the years, and early on before I really got in business, I didn't quite know what they were talking about. I didn't know the difference between a paradigm and a quarter, but I found out that wasn't what they were talking about. They were talking about a different kind of paradigm. And I had the good fortune of getting to know Stephen R. Covey. He was a good friend, and we were involved in some big things out at one of the universities out there that our kids went to school with, and I've been knowing him for years, and he passed away here a few years ago. But in his great book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, he talked about a lot of things in there. But there was a little hidden nugget in that book that explains what Mauricio is just talking about. He said this. He said, if you want to make minor changes in your personal life or your business or your team's life or outcomes, change your attitude, change their attitude. Okay, that's a minor change. Right. It's good if you're a negative thinker. It's better to be a positive thinker. But he says if you want to make major, not minor, if you want to make major changes in your personal life, your team's life, your business, change their paradigm. And now, meaning a new vehicle, get a new vehicle. If you're trying to go to the moon, you can't fly around in a little Piper Cub airplane. You've got to get in a rocket ship, a different vehicle to go there. And that's what he's talking about, getting in a different vehicle, a different thinking vehicle. See, when I was working on the railroad, I'm back on the caboose all by myself. I'm just back there, and I'm just a poor old railroad man that just hates being there. And then one day I started to read Think and Grow Rich, and I read a few other books and started doing some of those things. The next thing you know, I changed my attitude. I became a positive thinking person. But I'm still, instead of a negative thinking poor railroad man, I was a positive thinking poor railroad man. I was still in the same vehicle. Yeah. I just changed my attitude. It's great to change your attitude. That's better than being negative. It sets the stage. But until I left that railroad and got into the right kind of vehicle of financial services in marketing and get out of the linear thinking world and into a more generational and
exponential,
geometric thinking world, I learned math in the first grade. In the second grade, I learned multiplication, and I quickly learned that multiplication is faster and better than addition. And that's what you got to do here. Just make a paradigm shift. It's the box of thinking rules. Just change the way you think about something, and it needs to be in the right vehicles. What you got to do. So anyway, that's the message.
Thank you for that. And I want to invite everybody to really go and get into how do you change a paradigm, which is I would love to have a podcast just on that, because it's conflicting with everything that we have. We operate on current paradigms that makes it almost impossible to escape our current situation, and is not probably the simplest thing to do. So we'll definitely have another podcast just right on that alone, because until you realize it and understand it and go through the exercise of being able to change a paradigm, can you change your life? In my opinion, because I'm going through through that process.
It's easier. Hey, it is easier than you think. I want them to know that, and it's doable. If it wasn't, you and I wouldn't be sitting here.
Yeah. Wow.
If it was super difficult, you and I probably would have.
No, I'm not saying it's difficult. It's just conflicting with mine, based on my personal experience, based on
I understand. But hey, it's something that they need to learn how to do. But I'm just giving them hope that it's doable.
Oh, absolutely.
It's something can be done.
Absolutely. Well, that was value packed with value, I wanted to say, and I don't want to end the podcast today without reminding everybody again that they could find us now on every podcast platform, whether that is Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, and if you want to see also the show live, you could find us on YouTube. And I want to thank our sponsor also, which is Hegemon Group International. They are in the business of helping people like myself learn a new skill so that we can pay the bills. In other words, learn the skill of helping other people solve the most common financial problems, so that by doing so, we get rewarded very, very well. If you want to learn more about how to make this crisis work in your favor by being able to help everybody that is out there looking for answers on how to protect and grow their money at the same time, and then understanding how to leverage, like Hubert was saying, how to leverage other people's times and how to leverage just other people's efforts, well, go to hgiopportunity.com. That is hgiopportunity.com. Check them out, and you'll see that it may be the opportunity you've been looking for to go from where you are today to where you want to go. With that being said, I want to thank you for the time and for listening to us. Hopefully this was valuable to you, and we'll see you on the next show. Hubert, thank you. I'll see you, my friend, on the next podcast.
Good to see you. Hey, go out and conquer your future, guys.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Mauricio.
Bye-bye.
Warning, this podcast may change the way you think about business, entrepreneurship, and money forever. The Conquistador Podcast was created for dreamers, entrepreneurs, and leaders who want to conquer their future. To be an epic entrepreneur, you must adopt the right mental paradigms as well as master the art of selling, marketing, and finance.